Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the latest Mafia and Gangsters video. So the other day I did the inaugural video, the one with Michael Spider Gianco. I saw some good responses, some mixed feedback with regards to it. So I'm going to do a few more just randomly out of the blue just to further gauge and see how those responses go. That'll ultimately tell me whether I should continue this new series or not. But otherwise, if you want to take a look again, if you haven't had a chance, I'll include the link for the spider video below. So check that out when you have a moment. This one continues my theme with regards to picking the most obscure mafioso figures from the past. So that's the whole point again. It's me showcasing all these figures that nobody has ever heard of and probably won't ever hear of going in the future, but they still have some good information to provide with regards to them. And so this random figure, there's some pretty interesting stuff with regards to what he's done and then what he's most known for. And continuing the trend as far as nicknames, this gentleman also had a nickname. So in this case, this video is going to be dedicated to the mafia guy known as Willie-Knife Altieri, which you're looking at a photograph here. So just for the next few minutes, I'll describe as much as I can with regards to him. And then please post those continued comments below. It'd be great to hear, again, the feedback, your continued feedback with regards to this new series. So who was Willie-Knife Altieri? Well, he was definitely a mafioso gangster who served in a big organization back in the 1920s or so, the Roaring 20s. So this was prime time when it came to the mafia world, because clearly, of course, during that time there was prohibition. It was during the Prohibition era, and during that time period, that's when the mafia land, essentially it became mafia land when it came to all these figures rising in power. And so with regards to this person, this Two-Knife, he has a very distinctive name in this case, and the reason for it happened to be with how he preferred to dispatch a victim. So the reason why he was called Two-Knife was because he always loved to have two knives with him, and then that way when he was taking care of any specific contract killing, or let's say any specific intimidation, whatever the case may be, there he was making sure that he has his distinct trademark two knives with him. So very, very little information though is known about Willie before he joined the mafia. There was nothing in terms of his date of birth, although maybe he might have been born in 1891, somewhere around there. But it's still kind of up for grabs as far as that specific time period. Very little information about where he came from, his background. The only thing really that comes from him directly happens to be presumably from his police report. He was someone that stood about 5 feet 7 inches, weighed 170 pounds, had a darker blonde hair, and then also blue eyes. Now the gang that he eventually joined and became an enforcer with was known as the Black Hand Gang, and it was ruled by a mobster chief by the name of Frankie Yale. So think of it this way: if you've ever seen that movie Scarface, who hasn't, with regards to the big mafia guy there in South America, he had an enforcer that ultimately took out Tony Montana. Well, think of it that way too here. This guy, Frankie Yale, his right-hand man when it came to taking out pretty prominent, in this case, hits, was this guy, Willie-Knife Altieri. And he was pretty good at it. He was also so passionate about it with regards to his crimes and with regards to using those two knives that he as I mentioned earlier, he kept them always with him. And then in this case, they were always in some leather, what are called scabbards, in his waist. But he was known to even sleep with those knives on him in his bed. Who knows what would have happened, of course, if he moved around in his bed at night, let's say in his sleep, but still he had them with him at all times. That's how passionate he was with regards to his craft. And then sure enough, this guy, the chief, Yale, used him in several notorious killings. In one case, there was another gang, this one the opposite, called the White Hand Gang. They had someone that they was, let's say, their former leader of some sort, by a guy by the name of Bill Lovett. Well, he retired, but in this case, the other person, Frankie Yale, the chief again of the Black Hand Gang, the one that Willie-Knife Altieri worked for, he didn't care if this guy was retired. He wanted retaliation, I guess, for all of the rivalry, everything that this other guy did during the past couple of years. So, one fateful evening, there he was, former Chief Bill Lovett of the White Hand Gang, somewhere in some restaurant. I guess he was just eating outside or he was laying outside. The whole idea was he got drunk, and he was so drunk that he passed out on some bench nearby that restaurant. It was a place called the Lotus Club. And then by pure happen chance, this guy, Knife Altieri, came across, and then they both started fighting. He brought along another friend of his, another enforcer as well. And using his distinctive, in this case, preference for knives, he didn't use his knives in this case, but he did take a nearby meat cleaver and then used it to bury it right within the skull of that former chief Bill Lovett, and that was it. He was dead, instantly killing him. In another incident that he had, this Knife Altieri, in that case, he was sent to kill an informer within the very own gang that he was in. So somehow, some way, the Black Hand Gang found out that they had a rat within their organization, and so it was up to him to try to take care of this informer. And then using his distinct knives, he dug him right into the body of that person, of course stabbing him while he was still alive. And then in an extremely cruel act, he broke off the blades. How you could do that, I guess, while stuck inside a body, it just shows, I guess, the force that this guy did. But he twisted the knives however he did it, but they broke the blades directly within the body to ensure that there was no way that he could take those things out from his body. And then as a present to his mob boss Yale, this guy Knife Altieri showcased the handles, and then Yale mounted them on a plaque, I guess for everyone to see what happens to anybody that's an informer within his organization. So ultimately, what happens to this guy, to Willie-Knife Altieri? Well, ironically, once this mob boss Yale ended up being assassinated, he was murdered on the streets of Brooklyn sometime in 1928. That was it. Just like that, this guy Willie-Knife Altieri just either fled or disappeared. Either way, he wasn't apparently gonna take on another gang, like join another gang, nor was he just gonna, I guess, try to take over any other gang. No, in this case, he just decided that was it. After he finished serving his boss, because his boss is now deceased, then he just simply slipped into obscurity, and he has never been heard of again. Presumably, this is just me, but I would say that he either A, went overseas, like just left who knows where altogether, because if he was someone who came from another country, it would have been easy enough for him to just go back. Or B, he just adopted a whole new persona afterward, another town, another state, and ever since then just continued until he died. No known date as far as to when he died, but the best guesstimate seems to be that it was somewhere around 1970 that he died. So that gives you an idea that he lived a pretty fulfilled life, considering that he was born, if the guess is still correct, somewhere in 1890s. So long time, long period, in other words. But that's it. That's all the information associated with this character, this Willie-Knife Altieri. So please post those comments below. Let me know how it goes with regards to this series and the information and how the videos go. So I'm gonna be most interested in hearing. And if you wanted more of these videos, also please let me know as well. So, alright everybody, thanks again as always. Take care.